Straight out of Ngaruahia, New Zealand, here's Maurieo. Hello, Maurieo Vlogs number 372, Mum's War. Hello, welcome. Well, yesterday I talked about Anzac Day and my dad and the sacrifices that he made in the World War II. But it wasn't only on the male side of things that great sacrifices were made. My mum's war effort was somewhat significant in her life anyway. My mum was, her father died very soon after she was born, and so she was a solo parent. Her mum was a widow, and her brother were just had their mum to look after them. And at various times, they had various housekeeping jobs on farms and things. Where I think my mum's mum, grandma, but I never met her. She died before I was born. Did housekeeping and such things as that. In return for the keep of the children and herself and that sort of thing, and then various arrangements with relatives and things like that. And then at one point, and I'm only going on what Mum told me and what I could cobble together, I've never taken the time to write it down. And at some point, Mum spent some time, or she went to a boarding school down in Otaki and was separated from her mother. I think it's because she may have had a TB or something like that, and she went down there as part of the recuperation. It's unsure, but it was at a convent in Otaki, and she spent some time there. And although it was only a primary school, as I understand, she left there or came away from there when she was about 17. So she may well have been a teacher's aide or something along those lines at the time. However, Mum was never sort of alluded to being a very bright, fulfilled scholar, and she said that the only thing that she came away with from school was a very neat handwriting, which it was very. She had a very nice hand, and so that Mum and her mother lived in around Palmerston North. Mum herself appears to have been born or in and around Bulls, and her father is certainly buried in the Bulls Cemetery there, and there's a lot of family connections to the town of Bulls, which is just north of Palmerston North, and so that's the area that Mum sort of pretty much identifies with, is Bulls. And so it would appear that Mum and her mother lived in and around Palmerston North. I'm not quite sure whether her mother had retired, but they sort of had a bed-sitting room together, and Mum had various jobs as a tailor and seamstress and things like that. But during the war, she was what they call man-powered, or she was required to go down to Wellington to work in what I understand was the Ford Motor Company there, making munitions and things like that for the war effort. So she was separated from her mother, who I understand may have been dependent upon her, and sent down to Wellington to work away in this factory. And I think that she did that pretty tough, somewhat unfair in some ways, that was what was required, but Mum did it in her usual way, which involved some sort of hilarity and jokes and things like that. And she told many stories about the the times in Wellington and things like that, how she made fuses for torpedoes. Now, I always remember there was a story that came out about some ship that got hit by a torpedo, but it didn't go off. And I always imagined in my mind that was one of the torpedo fuses that Mum made. That was her way of saving a few people's lives, I think. But she didn't say that. But she did tell one story of how she tried to secrete a hand grenade out from the munitions factory for one of her friends, which was here. Her stories were always, she told the same stories sort of fairly repetitiously, but they were always a wee bit different, and they got more and more exaggerated as time went on. But I'm pretty sure, behind all that, as I said, it was quite a mammoth effort for her to go away. I have to leave her mother. Admittedly, was Palmerston North's only 100 miles away from Wellington, but her mum may well have been dependent on her, and to go all the way down there and have to live in a hostel and work away and doing war work and things like that, I think was pretty tough sort of ask, really, but she came through it in the end, and came back to Palmerston North, and her mum died before she got married, so we never met grandmother or grandfather on mum's side. So that was mum's war. So it's not the war effort and things. It's for every person at the front, there's many people at the back that are keeping and supporting them there, and mum was one of those people. So that was I was thinking of including that yesterday, and then on reflection on today, I thought, well, so I should say something on that to follow on. So I did. All right, now here's my new. I'm just having a look at my diary today, and so I went into work today, and I had some maths exams, tests to mark. So I got all those marked and collated and what have you, and that was good. And got home, and came straight home, and whipped in there and got my work clothes off and my shorts on and out, and got the lawnmower going, and I mowed the back two, or the second half of the back lawn, and I had a look at. I'd mowed around the shed area yesterday, but the mower, it doesn't mow that well. It leaves little bits that I wasn't happy with. So I went over the shed area again today, and it's coming up pretty good. I take a certain pride in my lawns looking good, and just letting them go the last few days there was just a bit of a thing there. And I've just realised here, I'm just going to, my challenge today is a question, and we'll come to that in a minute, but I haven't put it in there in my spreadsheet, so I'm just going to put that in there now before I get. So we've got a question coming up in there, and yes, I've done where, what, who. Number 93, hint 1, that's all up and running, and a couple of questions been answered there. And I'm going to introduce a new little slot in my daily vlog, the shout, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a wee while. So so everything's trucking along there. I got my little bit of exercise done today, got some work done, and I'm hopefully later on tonight, I'll get started on marking some assignments that I've got to get done before I get back to work on Monday. So let's go to the new one, which is Maurieo's shout out. Well, I say shout out. Here in New Zealand and Australia, the shout, it means to buy or give someone. So I'll shout the next round of beers means I'll buy the next round of beers, or can you shout me a bottle of Coke? Can you, I've lost my wallet, or left my wallet behind. So it's the shout. It's a big thing. And then come around after work, I'll shout you a few cones. Well, not something that I'm familiar with. That's a more modern day one, but here we go. And shouted. So someone shouted me lunch. So it means that they gave it to you free. But there's always an expectation that that you'll reciprocate the same. And I went out on the town with my friend Dave. He had no money, so I shouted him a few beers. Or I shouted a keg to celebrate my promotion. So that's the Kiwi vernacular, is the shout. Yeah. How about you shout us a beer tonight, or something like that. So the shout out, of course, is where we acknowledge, in international terms, where we acknowledge someone and say what they are. So I've called this maurieo shout, but it's like a shout out there. And I'm going to maybe do one each day for a little while. So I'm going to go to the large screen, here, and go to a channel. And here it is, this channel here, and this is Moz's channel, Moz42 channel. Now, Moz has been a great supporter of both my channels, but the vlog channel. He answers a few of my questions, and where, what, who. And he's always there with a question and a nice comment. He's got a great sense of humour. And on his channel, he does motorbike videos and things out and about the town in far north Queensland, and other things. He does a few video reviews, a little bit of humorous little stories that he encounters, and that sort of thing. So I enjoy his channel, but most of all I enjoy his support, and he's a very strong supporter, and makes great comments, great sense of humour. So thanks very much, Moz, for your support, and I really recommend that you go along and have a click on Moz's channel and subscribe to him. He puts out a video every now and again, and they're always good quality and a good watch. So cheers, Moz, and get along there and have a look. All good. Now for today's channel challenge, during my discussion with my mum, I mentioned the town that she came from, and this is an icon outside the town that she was born in. Well, I think, it'll be close enough anyway. So in the comments below, if you can just indicate what town Maurieo's mum was born in. Her name was Agnes Kathleen Button, A.K. Button. She tells a good story. She tells a good story of going to buy buttons at a drapery shop, and the man said, "What's your name?" She said, "A Button." He said, "I know what you want." You can, who's on first, what's on second, you know the story. But my mum could spin a good story, that's for real. Alrighty, so that brings us to yesterday's little word problem. Theodore Roosevelt naked. Now, Moz came up with this one. The answer's teddy bear. Theodore Roosevelt, I understand, put out a little, it was called Ted, and he put out a little teddy bear as part of his presidential campaign. And that's actually where I understand the origins of the teddy bear originate with Teddy Roosevelt. And so Theodore Roosevelt, or Teddy, and naked bear. So teddy bear, Moz came up with the answer for that. So well done, Moz. Thanks again for your support and what have you. So I think we've got it all there. We could have another look at today's channel challenge, and as I say, what's my mum's hometown mentioned in there, and this is the icon that stands at the town there. So Yes, a little town in the North Island of New Zealand. So, thanks to everybody for your liking, your subscribing, your commenting, all of those things. Really appreciate your support. Cheers! See you!